So welcome everyone. This is a session about heating appliances retrofit planning. So we have a session dedicated to a European 2020 project financed by the Commission within the RISE 2020 program. The idea here today at Sustainable Places is to present some of the work that we have already done regarding labeling methodologies for existing heating appliances. We would like to share what we already developed with you, and we will like also to share some of the experiences we already have regarding the campaigns that we are implementing in the 5 participating countries of the HARP project, which are France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Portugal. For that, we will have a session where some of the partners of the HARP project will give their overview on their area of expertise, and specifically within the role that they have assumed in the HARP project. And I will just briefly present who we have with us today. So my name is Joana Fernandes. I will be introducing you to the HARP project. I am with the Portuguese National Energy Agency, and we are also the coordinators of the HARP project. After me, Marco Calderone, who I'll hope can join us as well, or hopefully he's already in the chat, but I can't see his face, but hopefully he's for arm2m, so he knows how to manage around this online seminar. And he will present the policy framework behind the adoption of a label for existing appliances. There you have it. Ciao, Marco. And after Marco, we'll have from EURAC, Diego Menegon, which will present 2 slots. So basically, he will present the work that EURAC did regarding the evaluation of the current building and heating stock at EU level, and then also present the HARP methodology for labeling existing appliances, both space heating, water heating, and combi systems. Upon EURAC's presentation, we'll have with us Federica Muzzassi from Thermica, that he will presenting the market perspectives from an industry association point of view, and how the label for existing appliance can further promote and boost the market and the rate of replacement of existing old and efficient heating appliances. Upon that, OCO, a consumer association from Spain, with Estizen Gregorio and Enrico Genova from the Italian Energy Agency, will share the floor to present some of the opportunities that the consumer has when replacing old and inefficient systems, from a perspective of how to raise consumers' awareness, and then also the incentives and that are in place, in this case specifically in Italy, that also promotes and support further with the consumer to take action and to actually replace his heating system. So without further delay, I welcome you all. I hope you can stay for all the session. We have a Q&A sessions at the end, the debate. Nonetheless, you are more than welcome to pop in your question in the chat box, and I'll try to manage. And at the end, we'll tackle the questions that we have. So I will briefly present the HARP project. As I said, the HARP project basically is aligned with the EU strategy, with the climate package, and for having a strong activity and a strong action regarding the greening of buildings, and how we could not only work towards more efficient buildings, new efficient buildings, but also work with the large built patrimony that we already have. And that is here, it's our stock, it's our identity, it's our patrimony, and we should also look into strategies to make this stock more efficient. So we already have several policy instruments in the market at the EU level that work towards this goal. We have the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, which is in place in all EU countries, and of course assesses the energy performance of buildings. We have the renovation wave, and a clear driver for the energy transition. Long-term renovation strategies is also part of the packages, and most of the EU countries have already now in place long-term renovation strategies for their buildings on how to tackle deep renovation in both residential and commercial buildings. And of course, we have the goal for nearly zero energy buildings. So the local production also has a goal that we have to meet our energy demands locally. Of course, that whenever you talk about buildings, heating, space heating and water heating are by far the largest share of the energy demand that we face in our house. We want to be comfortable, and we need hot water both for showers and cooking. And of course, the fact is that we have different climates. You can see I'm in Portugal, I'm still in sleeves, but I already had a conference today with some colleagues in Brussels who are already very chill and with a lot of coats on them. So of course we have different needs in Europe, but the truth is that nearly 34 million Europeans are unable to afford to properly heat their homes. And this is a special concern. Of course, comfort should be a right. It's not something that you should be struggling to meet. And this is something that we want to contribute. Of course, decarbonization of the heating and cooling sector is also one of the strong pillars that the Commission endorses in all of their strategies towards energy efficient buildings. So, as I was saying, 80% of our energy demand in EU households goes to space and water heating. The evaluation that we have so far is that nearly 60% of the already installed stock is inefficient, which means we have a class below C. And this is basically due to the fact that a boiler or another heating appliance that is placed on the market with an average expected life of 15 years old. Well, the average life, the real life of these boilers go way beyond the 15 years old, goes to 20 to 25. Until they're up and running, they are in place and they're in use. So, Marco, sorry, can I just ask you to mute yourself? I can't mute you, but not a problem. It's a live show, so it's normal. So basically, the truth is that consumers don't often think about their heating system. While it works, I'm comfortable, it's not a problem, everything is good. And so most of the people are unaware of how inefficient their system is and what are the opportunities from thinking about replacing their heating system, who has already extended their lifetime beyond what was initially expected. And they often don't look at the market for new solutions. And the truth is that in the past 20 years, the heating industry has evolved tremendously. We have way more efficient solutions that we had in the past. And what we argue in the HEART project is that we urge consumers to look for solutions, to look what it's out there before their system breaks. Because when your system breaks, you are often in an urgency situation. You're cold, you don't have hot water, your kids are screaming at you. And of course, you don't want to see what's in the market. You just want someone to come to your house, install whatever was there before, and it was working great. And you have a heated home. So basically that is a waste of opportunity for you to understand, for the consumer to see what's out there, what has the market, how has the market evolved, and what does it offer nowadays. And definitely this is an opportunity that we don't think that consumers should miss. And for that, we would like to invite, and our efforts is towards inviting the consumers to understand what they have at home. So the first um, step of our HARP strategy is to raise awareness and to understand the consumer in the HARP project. We had universities with us the consumer behavior. So understand exactly what triggers consumers to think about efficient heating. I know it's not a sexy topic, as one usually say, and it's not something that pops into your head, although we all had plenty of time to be at home in the past year and a half and tackled some of these issues that we didn't thought we were going to tackle before. But the truth is that efficient heating is not on the top of our heads at any moment. So the first point is to raise awareness to the consumer about efficient heating, to let him know what is the efficiency of his current heating system, and make him aware of the possible solutions that are in the market to replace his heating system, and analyze the benefits that he can take from changing his heating system, and of course motivate the replacement. So put him in contact with installers, let him know which incentives there are at national level that can further support the installation costs for these new systems. And of course, make them aware as well of additional benefits that go beyond the lowering of your energy bill, but can also have a direct impact on the value of your house, of the aesthetics of the solution, and of course your overall comfort. So basically, this is our invitation. What are the main outputs that we have been working for in the HARP project? Well, the easiest way to, and especially having in mind a digital campaign that we all ended up having, a big forced campaign to go digital, but the best way to reach the consumers in this sense was to develop a methodology that Diego will present afterwards, and put it in an application. So make it very easy for the consumer to go through the app, insert a few inputs regarding his existing heating system, and understand exactly what is the efficiency, the expected efficiency of the existing system, and what is the energy class. And this way, and providing the consumer with an energy class, he can easily go to the market and understand, okay, what I have at home is a D, and the market is currently offering A and A plus and A double and triple plus solutions. So what am I missing here? What does this gap translate into? And this is the message that we want to set out. We want to provide a coherent message based on an energy label scale, so the consumer can understand what he has at home and what the market has to offer. We have developed several engagement materials. It's not only important to let him know what it has at home, but also to explain what kind of technologies are in the market. So have developed fact sheets and infographics to explain what a heat pump is, what solar thermal solutions are, what are condensing gas boilers. So all the technologies that are available on the market, we have now systematized all the benefits and the key points of all the technologies in fact sheets. We have produced some videos. Of course, communicating through social media, videos are definitely the way to go. And we have also developed some serious games so that consumer can also benefit a bit and learn a bit more about an efficient heating through a game while relaxing a bit. And then we have also developed some materials for professionals to help them know how to use this methodology, how to use this application, and how to use the energy label for existing heating appliances in their business model. So how to support their service towards the consumer with this energy label. We had already had one heating season. During the project, we are now entering a second heating season, and we will start with the campaign very shortly. So for those of you who are in any of these 5 participating countries, you can, of course, follow us on our partners networks to see which are the activities that we will be developing at the national level, because there will be, of course, public awareness in conventional media, communication with national authorities, with national stakeholders, social media campaigns, and of course trainings for the professionals. So what are the results we aim to achieve and that we work for in the HARP project? So the first is, of course, the definition of these methodologies that allow us to calculate the efficiency, the energy efficiency of existing heating appliances, and providing an energy class that is harmonized with the regulations, with the EU regulations that were published in 2013, entered in force in 2015, and are now already being revised, also in the framework of the rescale label. But these methodologies are harmonized with the EU label. And that's the important message, that we can, within the same language, within the same basis, talk with the consumer and present the consumer solutions that all have the same basis. We have a class of the existing system, and the same scale is the one used for new appliances that are available on the market. So this is exactly one of the main outcomes of the HARP project. With the national campaigns, we aim to reach, and almost already did, 1.5 million consumers. So raise consumers' awareness to the energy efficiency topic. And with our application and with the activities at the national level, we are working with 10,000 consumers, more than 10,000 consumers, to motivate them to change their old and inefficient systems with more efficient heating appliances, and of course, whenever possible, looking also to renewable solutions. Within the 5 participating countries, and also looking beyond the consortium, as we are, we want to define the policy integration scenarios for this labeling scheme to be in place once the project is done. So there are already some voluntary schemes. Some countries don't have any schemes, and what we want to understand is how we can make this tool, the labeling tool, exist and have a policy realm at the national level, so that it can continue to be applied once the project is over. This, of course, comes with the business model. How do we manage this voluntary scheme at the national level? And of course, the reach out to public authorities, which are responsible as well for energy efficiency support schemes, to endorse and to support the replacement of old and inefficient heating systems, and potentially use the label for existing heating appliances as an indicative measure of eligibility to tackle first the appliances that are the most inefficient ones. So this is a HARP consortium. We are 18 partners, so it's a big consortium. As I said, we are actively putting there a communication campaign in France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, and Spain. But the EU tool, the HARP tool, works within the EU framework. So you can label your existing appliance, going to our website and checking out what your heating appliance, what's the efficiency of your heating appliance. So this is our invitation. Go to our website, check out the energy class efficient of your heating system. Hope it's efficient. If not, you can continue the journey and check out what this market has to offer. Look for the information available, look for professionals as well. And of course, if you're interested in joining efforts with the HARP team, you're more than welcome to contact us. I'll leave you our email, harp@aden.pt. And I welcome you to benefit also from what we have learned so far, and check out your heating system. Okay, this ends my presentation. I will now, I'll say it again. If you have any questions, feel welcome to drop them in the Q&A box that we have here available in this online application. And I'll pass it on to Marco Calgani from R2M. I'll be sharing the screen. So Marco, do let me know when you want me to change the slides, and I'll just mute myself now. I can hear you very well, Marco, with cuts and all that. Is it just me?
No, we can hardly hear him.
Marco, we can't hear you. I'm sorry. You have breaks in your speech, so I don't know if it's the network. We can see you properly, which is unusual, but the sound. Nope. Sorry. Do you want to try exiting and coming back? I mean, that's my only attitude I have for this kind of problems. It doesn't always work, but every now and then. Marco, do you think you'll be able to change or the setting, or otherwise, while we try, let's see if Mark comes back and solves his connection problems. Otherwise, we can move forward with the presentation, and we'll exchange R2M with EURAC's presentation. But I'll just wanted to see if we can come back and present us with the voluntary labeling schemes that are already in place in some EU countries regarding the labeling of existing appliances. So let us check if he can enter again. But I do understand that we every now and then have some troubleshoot connecting. The last, I didn't want to swap presentations without being sure that he can participate after Diego. Okay, I'll just give him one more minute and see if he can join. And if not, Diego, and if that's okay with you, we can change. Okay. So Diego, can I just ask you to?
Yeah, no
okay,
problem.
Perfect. Let me just quickly go through the slides. Sorry, let me just move ahead. No peeking. Okay. Okay. So Diego, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Joanna. So today I will present two activities that were carried out in the plan, analysis the building stock compared to the appliances stock that are motivating some of the purposes of the project that already Joanna explained. So if you can go to the first slide. Yeah, the idea of this activity was to characterize the heating appliance stock, so the installed appliances inside the countries that are project of partner of the project HARP, named France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, and Spain, and the aggregated results of EU28. For time constraints, I will present today only the data about the European level, but in the report that is public, you can see the results for these different countries. So the goal of this activity was to identify the most common solution that are installed according to different building typologies. Therefore, we analyze the stock in terms of age, capacity, efficiency, and expected energy class, and so on. We consider the space heating appliances and also the water heaters. Next, please. Oh, Okay, so if we look to the EU28, this data was taken from the deliverable that was written 1.5 years ago. So therefore, the statistics is not updated to 2021, but as some years. So in Europe, there are 500 million of citizens with 22 billions of square meters of residential area. In average, in Europe, there is the 80% of the surface area that is heated. This statistic is really different if we look to warmer countries or to colder countries. So for north countries, you will see that the percentage is close to 100, and Mediterranean regions, this percentage is much lower. This area is divided in 2,250 millions of dwellings, and let's say half are single-family house and half it's multi-family house. And the heated area in this case is depending from the kind of the houses. From this, a really big percentage is buildings that were built before 1980. So also the thermal load is can be important for this building. As I mentioned before, the percentage of heated surface depends from the countries, and that is also translated to different numbers of dwellings that are heated. We go from Portugal, that has almost the 60% of dwellings heated, to Germany, where we found 99%. Looking to the heating appliance stock, we have 160 millions of unit. And from the graph, we see that we have condensing and non-condensing boilers, gas boilers, condensing and non-condensing oil boilers, coal boilers. There is still a percentage of this appliance, heat pumps, solar thermal system combined to other systems, biomass boiler, or directly electric heating system. So from this share, we see that the 76% of the installed appliances is driven by fossil fuel. The units that are installed were divided also in terms of installed capacity and final energy consumption. And again, we can see that most of the load is covered by gas boilers or oil boilers. The installed capacity has not directly the same proportion in final energy consumption, because the use of the units is different. So before we spoke about the overall number, and then we make an additional step. We need to understand these appliances were installed in terms of autonomous heating or central heating, because the purpose of this project is to motivate the consumer. So in the case of autonomous heating system, the user will be responsible for the replacement of old and inefficient appliance, while in the central heating there is the condominium administrator or some other person that is in charge. So we see as a share that the biggest number is installed in autonomous heating systems, and that correspond also to the smaller units. In fact, the thermal capacity, the share is half and half. From this activity, we built the matrix dividing which are the appliances that cover the single family house, cover the multi-family house where it is possible to install an autonomous heater, or where there are the multi-family houses with a central heating system. In this case, we need to consider that in an autonomous system there is one dwelling and one appliance, while in a centralized heating system we have one system that is heating more dwellings, and therefore there is this distinction in the table. Looking to the water heater stock, one thing that I didn't mention in the previous table, I spoke about heating system, but was also heating combined to water heaters. And in this slide, there are only dedicated water heaters. In this case, when there is a water heater that is installed in one dwelling, we see that the most common solution is that is applied is an electric storage water heater, and then we have the second part of the share that are gas instantaneous water heaters. Commonly is happening that a gas boiler is also covering the domestic hot water part, and therefore this is meaning that a small share of dedicated instantaneous water heaters is with gas water heaters. Also, in this case, we analyzed the installed capacity and the final energy consumption, and we see that also if the electric water heaters cover a big share of installed number of units, there is a large energy consumption by gas water heaters. So yeah, as I told before, I present just the European aggregated data, and if you would like to have a more in detail about the share in the different countries, in the resource page of HARP internet site, you can be able to find the deliverable with all this data and also other data. Okay, so next step is the methodology for defining the energy label for installed appliances. So also in this case, the activity as a purpose that was the definition of an energy label for space heating and water heaters all appliance. Since the energy label directive has been applied with the two regulation 811 of the 2013 and 1112, and most of the installed appliances are before the implementation of this regulation. Therefore, the user do not know which is the energy class of the installed appliance. So, looking to the aim of the project, we developed two possibilities. One, to reach the final user. So, we develop a simplified version of the calculation for a common user, while we also give the possibility for a professional user to make a detailed calculation. The methodology that has been developed has been also included in the HARPA tool. Okay, so the idea was to define the same calculation that is implemented for the new appliance in terms, therefore, the comparison of old appliance and the new appliance is made on the common base. To consider the seasonal efficiency of installed appliances, we took the calculation that are required in the European regulation. We perform the same calculation, but we also consider a degradation effect due to the aging of the components of the heating system. The degradation was been were defined in cooperation with the manufacturers, and also look into the literature. Since the different appliances are based to different technologies, we know that there is possible to have a different effect of the age. Typically, if we consider a boiler, the literature say that has a lifetime of 20 years, while a heat pump of 15 years. And also the components inside the appliance is different. We consider, therefore, a different aging coefficient depending from the heating technology. In addition, from the analysis that we perform, we saw that in all the European countries there is mandatory the maintenance, but sorry, in most of the countries is mandatory the maintenance, but not in all countries. Specifically in Portugal, the user has not to perform a mandatory maintenance, and we included also this effect. Making the example of the boiler, if you don't clean the burner or you don't clean the chimney, the boiler will perform in a worst working condition. Looking to the calculation, as I said in the introduction, we have two flows. Now I present the heating appliance label, and later I will present the water heaters label. And so there are two ways, one simplified for the final user, where we ask just to introduce which kind of boiler has, the age, if it's known the nominal capacity, otherwise we use the file data. Instead, for the detailed calculation, we ask to the professional user also the specific data of the appliance, as the full load and part load efficiency, the electrical consumption, and so on. In case for the common user, we use the file values that has been developed inside the project. From the calculation, we will take as output the seasonal efficiency and the energy class with respect to the equation that was shown in the previous slide. The validation has been done collecting data for about 5,600 models, collecting the data through the different partners of the project. And we consider gas and oil boilers that were built between 1972 and 2019. The classification is done according to European standards, so the possibility is having a standard boiler, that is meaning a really old appliance, low temperature boiler, or condensing boiler, that is the only kind of boilers that you can find now in the market. This was completed with a laboratory test where we compared the different values that came from the default calculation, default value, so the calculation performed for the common user, the calculation performed by the professionist, and the measurement that we made in the lab. We got one oil boiler that was taken from a real application after 31 years. Before I told that typically in literature the boilers are 20 years as a lifetime, but you see that in a lot of time the user have a longer extension of the age of the boiler. And two condensing boilers of 11 years. The first thing that you can notice is that the full load efficiency of an old boiler or new appliance is different, is 10% in this case. And the measurement in the lab were confirming the calculation that we performed in the methodology. Just additional comment was since the two boilers were from the default calculation were similar, the default value was the same, was really close, because the only parameter that is changing is the capacity. For the water heaters, we consider the same approach. In this case, I have one slide for the new water heaters and a new slide for the old water heater, because the equation is too long. And this is the water heater efficiency that new appliance should are calculated with. This is translated for us for the old appliance, where we consider that old appliances do not have the smart function. So the part that of the calculation that is considering the effect of a smart control is removed. And also in this case, we added the aging coefficient, as I was mentioning before. In this case, we have again the same two ways, one for the simplified calculation and one for the detailed calculation. To the user, we ask about the water heater type and age, and we ask the number of inhabitants. Typically, the appliances are sold considering tapping profiles that goes from XXS to triple XL, but this is something that the final user is not usually able to understand, and later I will explain better. For the calculation, in this case, we need to consider a different calculation for the different water heater types, because the physics behind the models is different. Okay, from this calculation for all the water heaters, we got the water heater efficiency and the energy class. Okay, so the different tapping profiles define a different energy consumption for the domestic hot water purposes, and therefore we map this energy consumption to the number of inhabitants. That is meaning that M profile is a water heater that has been tested with a statistical draw-off of hot water that extract 5.85 kilowatt hours per day, that is corresponding to a consumption of 2 people. Therefore, if the user select that is 1 or 2, we assign the M profile, and so on. With the L profile, we consider between 3 and 5 people, and also and the same approaches for the others number of inhabitants. Since the water heater, the kind of water heater is defining the default values, We took from a market analysis 200 electric storage water heaters and 200 gas instantaneous water heaters. And if you remember the slide about the stock of water heaters, you see that this is about the 80% of installed stock. We took the parameters that are needed for performing the calculation. So, as I mentioned before, 2 persons are corresponding to a M profile. If the user select that is as a electric storage water heaters, the calculation is performed considering a volume of the water heaters of 100 liters, a capacity of 1.5 kilowatts. If the user select the gas instantaneous water heaters, that is meaning an appliance with a capacity of 19.5 kilowatts. These are kind of average condition that need to be considered for having the file value. The same tables are also for electric instantaneous water heaters or for gas storage water heaters, that are the two kind of technologies considered in the calculation. Also, in this case, we perform a validation considering going to compare which are the simplified approach and the detailed approach with what is the efficiency of the water heater read from the product fiche. In the case of electric storage water heaters, we didn't were able to retrieve data of older heaters than 10 years. So we verified that the correlation is working well also for new products, and the older products were simulated considering that during the technological evolution, the manufacturers worked a lot on the insulation of the storages. So together with them, we consider that older water heaters had higher thermal losses. We considered that higher thermal losses, as was written in a standard that we use also for the calculation, and we saw that also in that case the calculation is working well. For the gas instantaneous water heaters, in that case, we consider both young models, let's say, of younger than 10 years, and also older models. We did the same thing, so we calculate the efficiency of the simplified calculation and the detailed calculation, and we got a good correlation with the product fiche. Next slide. Okay, so also in this case, we performed a laboratory test of 2 old water heaters. In this case, were 2 gas instantaneous water heaters, one of 22 years and one of 10 years. The 2 models are different, and what we can see is this effect. Here I added the full load capacity and the water heater efficiency. In the simplified and in the detailed calculation, we consider the aging effect, while in the measurement, we didn't add in the calculation the aging effect because it was made by the work in the real application. So we see, since the 2 models are the same, we got the same default value. So the profile is L, and are 2 standard gas instantaneous water heaters. Therefore, the nominal capacity is the same. The full load capacity used in calculation is the same, but the water heater efficiency is different because the first model is older than the first one. Then in the detailed calculation, we took the data of the manufacturer. The capacity was the same, but the full load efficiency was slightly different. And again, in the water efficiency, we got the effect of the aging coefficient. Looking to the measure, we see that the oldest appliance got a smaller capacity, and this can happen due to some effects of the aging, and also the efficiency was lower than the other one. So in this way, also confirming the validity of the aging coefficient that we used. Next, please. Okay, so we lost also Joanna. Today is not easy. So I will share the last.
Giovanna is not with us anymore.
So okay.
Non c'è più.
I was just concluding. Maybe I was so boring that she left. I don't know. So also for these two activities in the HARP site, you can see the two deliverables. One is the full validation, and the other one is the guideline for implementing the calculation. So now we have back Marco, so maybe we can go the step before that was foreseen. So your presentation, Marco.
Yes, in principle. First of all, you can hear me now, right?
Yes.
Okay, it was my laptop was not supporting the system apparently. But the problem is from my mobile, I cannot share the presentation.
Okay,
so that's a big issue. Do you happen to have the very last? Okay, here's Joanna.
I can do it. Sorry, I'm back. Everything crashed. But sorry, I think I can try to share again. I don't know if you can already
I conclude, Joanna, in the meantime. So
thank you.
I suppose that you were so bored. So
no, I wasn't. I wasn't bored at all. But well, my PC disagreed with me, and this is something I can't control. And again, my IT faculties are very, very poor, and there's nothing I can do. So sorry for that. But I'm trying to share now Marco's presentation. I'm just flipping back the slides because we have all the presentation together. So I'm just coming back. And I can already see Marco's slides, and 1 minute, and I'll be sharing the presentation with you all. Okay, I'm here. Okay, I have it. Okay, let me try to share it now. Okay. Okay, let me come back. And this is share screen. Let's go again from the beginning, people. No, not from the beginning, but just for the second presentation. Let me know if you can see it.
yes.
Okay, so now, Marco, you are on with the policy integration scenarios. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I can see it. I will look at the slides on my laptop because on the mobile it's really small, but I'm following. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for the inconvenience before. This presentation was supposed to happen before the technical one by EURAC, simply to give an overview on the current situation from a rather policy perspective, but no problem. I think it's makes sense to have it now as well. I'm from R2M Solution. We are organizing, by the way, also sustainable places, and we are partners of HARP. Next slide, please, Joanna. Very quickly, just to give you an overview on the framework the current policy framework. Since 2015, we have let's say, actually since before 2015, but let's say during the last decade, a mechanism started within the EU to enhance efficiency of products, and this is covered of many kinds of products, now specifically about heating products. On the one hand, it covers the, let's say, medium, averagely large applications up to 400 kilowatts. This is the eco design. You see on it's the green box, and this is about, it's a regulation, is about providing manufacturers with limitations, requirements for efficiency. And then for the smaller appliances up to 70 kilowatts, 50 for heat pumps, we have the energy label, which is, let's say, covering again the smaller appliances, and it basically provides the efficiency of a product which is being brought to the market. This is in very brief the current situation. Thank you for changing the slides. So now these are just let's say the detailed numbers. Press space or anyhow the mouse button, please. The problem is what happens with the installed appliances, and this is, as Joanna already explained, and also Diego, why HARP was born. Next slide, please. So let's say interesting part of this presentation, in my opinion, is that HARP is not inventing anything from scratch, anything new. Such initiatives, I mean, initiatives about labeling the existing installed appliances are already in place. But apart from Germany, those are actually privately initiated experiences. So you see in France, we have a volunteer labeling system. In Italy, we have a volunteer one. In Spain, we have a volunteer one. In Germany, it's partially compulsory, and this is being, it was born as a mechanism pushed by the government, so by the German Energy Agency. In the other countries, it's managed by the industrial associations. Okay, great. Now some information about those mechanisms in place. So again, those are initiatives which build the framework and the tools required to have certain stakeholders, usually installers, chimney sweepers, able, or even the end users, able to rate the efficiency of their of any installed heating boiler. Of course, in those cases, we have most of the boilers tend to be older than 2015, when the energy labeling came in place. So those do not have an energy label. And the idea is, let's try to figure out and put in place a mechanism which tells the users how, let me say, likely inefficient their old boiler is. And perhaps next step, how much he or she could save if he or she was to replace that boiler with a newer appliance. So this is the German system. You see the final output is an energy label which looks pretty similar to the ones we are used to from European regulations. But of course, the amount of information required is relatively limited, because a boiler which is has been installed 15 years ago or 20 years ago might, or the owner might not have all the information available. So I will come later to the exact, let's say, data requested in each country. First feedbacks from the German labeling mechanisms, which I think are interesting. So first of all, it was initiated as a volunteer mechanism. Chimney sweepers, heating technicians, and energy consultants were those stakeholders entitled to issue labels, calculate and issue. And now, 1 year after the mechanism was put in place, the government decided to make it mandatory only for the chimney sweepers. Chimney sweepers are by law obliged, okay, have to make a check to the chimneys of houses every 3.5 years, if I'm not wrong. And when they do that, they are obliged to also label the existing boiler. Still, installers and energy consultants can, on voluntary basis, issue labels as well. Now, what is interesting is that okay, you see on the bottom of the slide the number of labels actually issued. This is far lower than what was initially forecasted by the government. It's we are around 11% of the forecasted number of labels. Sorry, not of labels, but of replaced boilers. Of course, the number of replaced boilers, thanks to this labeling mechanism, is an estimation. So it's not easy to understand if a user has replaced the boiler because he received or she received the energy labeling. But those are the calculations made by DENA. Next slide, please. DENA is the German Energy Association. Energy Agency, sorry. This is the Italian mechanism. This has been in place for a couple of years. Assotermica, the Italian Industry Association, developed an own app even before the HARP project started. And here, next slide, please, Joanna. We can see that so far we have roughly 1,000 labels issued. And interesting piece of information, almost all the appliances are below Class C. Next slide, please. This is a screenshot of the French, of the website showing the French etiquettes or energy labeling. So they also developed a known app in France. Next slide, please. These are in the next two slides, a couple of feedbacks, also interesting, I think. 200 companies have been involved so far. In average, every company involved has issued 15 labels, all in all 3,000, let's say. It is interesting to see that here the energy class distribution, so the outcome of the application of the app of the calculation method, is a bit different compared to Italy. Here we have more or less equal shares of Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D. Of course, it is likely that the thresholds chosen in France are different from the thresholds chosen in Italy. So this might be one of the explanations for the diversity. And there are for sure many other explanations. Here you have, again, more or less flat, similar share of each energy class. Next slide, please. And here we have other information. Well, as one can imagine, most of the boilers which have been labeled are natural gas fired. And the interesting part here is that you see, if we want to find a trend, search for a trend, we can say that Class A and Class D are the most common. Okay. Then next slide again, please. The Spanish labeling mechanism is much simpler. We don't have feedbacks, unfortunately, yet. We're seeking for some feedbacks from the Spanish industry associations. But anyhow, they also have their own labeling system on a voluntary basis, of course. Next slide, please. And here I tried to summarize how, in average, those systems we have just looked at actually work. As for the data requested, in principle, all labeling mechanisms ask the user for the production year of the heating boiler and for the type of heating boiler. For example, is it a condensing boiler or not? In France, Germany, Italy, you are requested to enter also the thermal power of the installed boiler. In France and Germany, you are requested also for the fuel. I'm not sure in Italy, probably it is, and I overlooked it, but anyhow. And then there are other non-mandatory information, piece of information required, such as the efficiency at full and partial load for the Italian app, which is quite complex, advanced. But I also have to add, you may know it or not. If you don't know it, the app will, I think, put default values, so you're not obliged to enter this value. Same for electricity consumption, for auxiliaries. In France, you are also asked to specify information about the type of building. Okay, and the outputs are in general the energy efficiency in percentage and the corresponding class. Next slide, please. And now, so this was the overview, let's say, of what is in place already. Why did I provide you with this overview? Because I think this clearly shows why a project like HARP has been financed and is now ongoing, because this is anyhow happening. The big, let's say, challenge now is to build, to the extent possible, a common framework and make it as far as possible uniform, and collect, of course, experiences, lessons learned, and give voice, let's say, amplify the message. Okay, and what we're doing now, going to do in HARP, is understanding which are the frameworks in each of the countries I just mentioned, and in order to understand what are the, let's say, minimum regulatory and legislative conditions in order for such a mechanism to be in place. How can a government, be it the national one or local ones, improve the regulation so as to simplify the introduction of such a mechanism for labeling installed heating appliances? And we're looking at this from the technical perspective, procedures. How does the mechanism work, especially in Germany, where it is governmental? It is interesting to understand how it works from the procedural perspective, the policy, as I said, and also the markets might be relevant. How is the market in each of the countries for heating appliances, of course. Next step. Next slide, please. And then, based on the information we will gather, and actually are already gathering, we'll basically provide feedbacks to policymakers. First of all, to policymakers of member states, because some member states could be interested in evaluating the possibility of introducing such a system also in their countries at national level. We are going to provide feedbacks to the European Commission, of course, policy feedbacks, because it might be the case that sooner or later they come to the crazy idea of extending the label, the mandatory labeling also to existing appliances. Who knows? Okay, and we are, again, as I said in the first bullets, trying to trigger the adoption, or at least the endorsement of our methodology in countries which are not necessarily part of our consortium. Next slide, I think it's also the last one. Just to give you an example, in Portugal, we have reached the first milestone. It's not yet a full mechanism in place, but the government has endorsed in an official manner, in an official document, the HARP as the, let's say, recommended, suggested methodology to put in place, let's say, labeling of installed boilers, or anyhow, any kind of heating appliance. And I think that's it. Joanna, thank you for moving forward through the presentation. And I think it's now your turn to present the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Marco, for the presentations, and of course, sorry for the IT hiccups, if you can call it like this. So the next presentation will come from Federico Mozzassi from Asothermica. Let me just pass along the presentation we had already heard from Diego. Federico, I think we have a bit of background noise from you, but maybe it's because I'm still connected. Nonetheless, I will also mute myself in a few moments, and I'll pass it on to you to present the vision of the market regarding the potential adoption sorry, this is not easy. Good gracious, it's going on its own. I'm sorry. Okay, stop. Let's go backwards. Sorry, this is not easy. Okay, we can see now Federico's presentation. It stopped.
Okay.
Federico, it's now your turn. Thank you so much for being with us as well.
Thank you very much, Joan. This is a spoiler from your side. You show all the slides. No, thank you very much, and I hope that you can hear me well. Okay, fine. As Joanna said, I'm Federico Musazzi. I'm the Secretary General of Assotermica, that is the national Italian association representing the heating sector. And of course, we are partner of the HARP project. In these few minutes at my disposal, I will speak about market perspective, and I don't hide them. Our perspective are quite high, because we trust in this project and we consider this instrument as a potential instrument useful to reach the goal of the decarbonization. We are now in a very particular period, very important, because we have very stringent goals in terms of energy efficiency, of growing of renewables. So everything could help, and we consider it a part of the discussion. Having said that, I will show, I ask Joanna to proceed with the next slide. Thank you very much. This is the context in which we move, and with some data of our sector. We are gorgeous of this data because, as you can see, over the course of the years, there are a continuous growth in terms of turnover, in terms of employees, and in terms of investment dedicated to the research and development. This means that the sector in which we move is a sector healthy, is a sector that contributes to the economy, and especially if we consider the data on research and development, we see that a consistent part of the investment is dedicated on that. Especially because on the market there are more and more technologies. There are discussion on new items such as smartness, digitalization, and so on. So the investment from the industry are very high to follow and to contribute to that discussion. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Also considering the contribute to economics, we see that the HVAC sector contribute is about 1/3 of the entire turnover of the building sector, of the constructor sector. This means that it's a big part if you consider that the constructor sector is one of the main sectors that contributes to the whole economy, and in that sense the heating appliances and the cooling appliances are a relevant part of this sector. And for that reason, national European governments usually invest in that sector with incentive, with different measures to use this experience to increase the whole economy. Also, one peculiarity of the sector is the complexity of the supply chain. As the heating sector, we operate in a long supply chain made by designers, producers, manufacturers, installers, distributors, And this is one of the strong points of our sector, because we are in a very strict relationship. There is a connection along the supply chain, and it could be considered an excellence at European level of the general economy of the different sectors. Okay, having said that, we can proceed to the next slide, and we can see how is the dimension of the market in terms of pieces sold every year. The main market is UK, that of course now you know the situation with the Brexit. The other market are Italy, Germany, France, and Netherlands. Every year in Europe, the number of sales is around 6 million. That means a very huge number, and also means that what we install now we will have also, as Diego said, for the next 12, 15, 20 years. So if we speak about energy efficiency target at 2030, if we speak about European objective on Green Deal, what we sell now will define the reachment of the results in 2030. So it's very important to consider what we have on the market at the moment, and to choose the best option as possible. Okay. Thank you. Luckily, the opportunities on the market now are a lot. The problem is not a problem of technologies, because the industry is quite strong. In the different countries, we have a lot of opportunity of installing different technologies, such as condensing boilers, heat pumps, hybrid appliances, biomass. So technologies that are 100% renewables, or combines renewable sources with energy efficiency, and so on. So one of the strong point of our industry is the ability to provide different technologies on the market. And we always say that there is not a single technology that fits all. The building sector, the type of buildings are very different from the different countries, from the age. So the situation is very heterogeneous, and for this reason we promote and we always support a multi-technology approach. In that sense, the role of the professional is very, very important, because he is the only person that is able to see what is the condition of the specific building, of the specific dwelling, and to propose to the end user the best solution for that situation. And we also consider that in that sense, the energy label could help at the beginning to create consciousness about the state of the art of the appliance that I have in my home, for example. Okay, next slide. As I said, the problem is not a problem of technology, because we have all technologies available, but the problem, or what we want to improve, is the renovation rate. If we want to match the European targets and at 2030, we have to accelerate the renovation rate. Of course, as I said, we have all technologies available, but if the renovation rate remain at the current level, we never reach the European goals. And as you know, in the last months, these European goals has become more and more stringent. The last package, Fit for 55, demonstrate that the ambition of Europe to be a leader in the discussion on energy is very evident. So we have to act on the renovation rate, and we have a lot to do because in Europe there is a heating stock of appliances more than 120 millions. Most of them, as Diego showed to us, is already composed with fossil fuels, but not only with fossil fuels, because we also have fossil fuel technologies that are very efficient. For example, condensing boilers is a fossil fuel solution, but is more and more efficient than the oldest one. The problem is that the most part of the installed park is composed by very old solutions. So we have to stimulate the replacement of this kind of appliances. Okay, we have done some estimation. It's a hypothesis, but if we try to match the different renovation rate with the ambition of Europe in terms of energy target, we immediately see with the actual renovation rate, we never reach this goal. So if we consider the number of sales that I showed you before, that are quite elevated, but not enough to reach the EU ambition, we never succeed. So we have to improve this rate. If we improve at 5%, that could be considered as a low value, but it's not the case. To increase of 0.8% the renovation rate, the effort to be done is very high. We could have some chances to approach the 40% target of CO2 reduction in 2030. That is the original target of EU. But we now know that the EU is more ambitious, has increased this target to 55 CO2 reduction. So 5% of the renovation rate is not enough. So we have to improve much more and to arrive at least at 6%. So this means that considering the actual installed appliances, every year 6% of them has to be renovated with new technologies that are present now on the market. How to do that? There are different drivers to change the mix on the market. In the last few years, we experienced a big change on the market. Since a few years ago, the most common technologies were standard boilers with efficiency very poor. Now the mix proposed on the market is quite good in the sense that we have all the technologies I showed you before. And the main drivers are divided in three, I can say, in three types of actions. We have new vertical standards and product requirements. For example, the eco-design regulation, the energy labeling regulation, specifically for a single sector, for example, for the heating sector. And these are effective because they fix precise limits to put on the market appliances. So new appliances has to respect new limit of the new standards and product requirements. So we have a second type of action that can be defined as a system requirements, not specifically for a vertical sector, but for a system. For example, the EPBD, Energy Performance Building Directive, or the Renewable Energy Directive, that push in an indirect way the putting on the market more and more efficient technologies. And the third line of action, of course, are the incentives and the support schemes. For example, in Italy now we have a very interesting forms of fiscal incentives. I think that Enrico later on will show you something. And this is a very important drive on the market. We assume that with the energy labeling of existing appliances, we can contribute to this changement on the mix to add a new possibility to these three types of actions. Okay, the next slide. Probably is the last one from my side, is it regards the message I said before of the importance of the professionals. As I said, we operate in a very long supply chain. The front end of this consumer is the installer. These charts show the number of the installers. For example, in Italy, we have thousands of companies that make installation. In Italy, for example, we have at the moment more than 60,000 companies, generally made by 2 or 3 people in the staff. This means that we have a huge number of people on the territory that could be a way to give a message to the end user. The way could be the opportunity to use the label, so to use this role of thousands of people on the territory in a more coordinated way. And we trust that it could work if we will be able to provide more and more information on the opportunity of labeling of existing boilers. So it was a very brief presentation, but I hope to have passed the most important message from our side. And of course, I'm available for any questions also later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Federico, for your presentation and for the good points that you raised, especially where does this all fit in terms of strategies. We now have the presentation from Estesian from OCU, so the Consumer Association in Spain, that will share a bit how to raise their experience on how to raise consumers' awareness, the heating efficiency topic. So, Estesian, thank you so much for being here with us today, and the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, Joanna. Yes, my name is Estesian, and I work at the Public Affairs and Media Relations in OCU. But I'm talking here on behalf of the consumers associations involved in the HARP project. Because at the end of the day, with this kind of projects, what we want to be able to reach the EU targets on energy efficiency is to get consumers involved and to be aware of the importance of the changes and the planning the change of their heating systems to be able to reach this efficiency. Next slide, please. For that, the consumers should be not only aware of the performance of their heating appliances, but it's important to raise awareness also about the economic, energetic, and CO2 savings that they might get when they are planning and they are renovating these kind of systems. For that, when we planned this on the HARP project, we understood that the first thing that we had to do when we were addressing consumers was to make them aware of the expenditure of on water and heating systems, because we were not sure that they were aware of how much does the heating system and the water system use out of the energy bill in the households. Not only that, we needed to let them know about the inefficiency of the systems that they had already installed. It's easier to go to the shop and see how the new appliances might have different labels, but about what they've got already installed at home, it's kind of tricky to make them conscious about what they've got already at home. Next slide, please. So the first point when we addressed them and we wanted to focus on this kind of awareness was to use some kind of image and a clear knowledge of what they've got at home. For that, we thought that the equivalence and the energy level to understand whatever it's at home was crucial. For that, we needed to let them know and ask for the different information on the type of buildings or the type of heating system and the use they give to these systems. And for that, we could provide with an equivalent of the energetic label. That way, we made the process simple and easy to understand for consumers. When we addressed this topic, we wanted to focus on the planning. As Joanna mentioned, most of the time when we're talking about renovating and changing the system, the consumer face this situation once the current device is broken. So it's always a bit in a hurry. They need to have the new one already installed, so they don't take the time to understand which are their needs and which will be the system that will fit properly into their house and will fit with their needs. For that, we were focusing on the planning of the substitution. We wanted to let them know the importance of checking what was on the market, to focus on which were the actual needs of their own household, and to plan that with enough time in advance to be able to choose the proper and most efficient device for the house. So we put not only the benefits of doing so in front of the customer, but also the co-benefits. Now that the people have more time to be at home with the pandemia, and so they had realized the importance of being in a comfort home. The situation, the different topics, the different benefits that they may have, not only about savings when we talk about energy savings or CO2 savings, but also the added value of changing this kind of systems, which are comfort, which are the added value for the property. So actually this project came in a very interesting moment for consumers, which were aware not only about the different co-benefits that they may find, but also they are doing so in a moment where the energy prices are excessive, escalating in this very moment. So one of the things that we had to address was the misconceptions that consumers may have about the heating system and about the changing these kind of systems, because as we mentioned, this might be a topic that the consumer might not have it on the top of their minds in a daily basis, but when they need to change the system, when they have to look for information, it's important to have clarity and a good understanding of which are the different systems that they might have on the market, and the different technologies and the situations they are going to face. So for that we use misconception kind of graphics and infographics. We also used some video and fact sheets to make this easier for consumer to understand what was in the system and may not have partial information on what they might find in the market. Doing so, we use the HARP tool to provide the most adequate information and the easier solution for them. That is, we ask about their current situation and about the different space or necessities that they might have at home, and we showed a broad of opportunities, and we sign the ones who might fit more accurate to the different situation of the consumer. But we also focused on different kind of results, like for example to check in on the CO2 savings or energetic savings, or the different kind of solutions that could help them make the right decision or the more appropriate one. For that we use not only the tool, but different explaining videos to make things as easier to understand for consumers as possible. And not only we share this kind of information, as we mentioned before in the here in the panel, It's really important that consumers trust the professionals, because at the end of the day they are going to show them which are the most adequate devices that they might install. So that's why we also refer to these professionals who have been trained properly on the system. But also we needed to show the consumers the different support scheme that they might find, because one of the main barriers that they met when they are thinking about changing the system was the economic situation and the expenditure in this kind of changing. So for that, we thought it was crucial to have it handy, to have all the information about the different schemes that they might find in the different countries where we were placing the project. So this is one of the main triggers for consumers to decide to go ahead and plan their renovation for the system. We wanted to share here one of the examples, which is the Italian system, and that's why our colleague Enrico might help showing it a bit better. Thank you.
Thank you, Estesian. So now, as you were saying, we have Enrico Genova from the Italian Energy Agency to present the Italian example on existing incentives in the Italian context. So thank you so much for being with us today as well, Enrico, and please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Etsitzen. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. And as it was described, HARP is developing a tool, an online application, ARPA, which supports the user in estimating the energy label of all the existing appliances for heating, both space heating and water heating, and then also in showing, it also shows different solutions, different technologies for the replacement of these old appliances. In the last step of the app, there are also some useful links, and these links include also those to existing programs, existing systems of incentives in each of the countries which are taking part in ARP. Here you can see the last step in case the existing appliance is in Italy. If we can go to the next slide, you can notice that there is a section with link to some websites where the user can find more information on existing incentives in Italy for the replacement of all the existing of all the heating appliances. I will try to describe very quickly this system of incentives, which is made of different fiscal deductions. This system is mainly made of these two incentives, Ecobonus and Bonus Casa. We will see that they support the same solutions, but in different ways. Which is the most relevant difference? Is that Ecobonus is focused only on energy upgrade measures for the buildings. So it supports only those measures which improve the energy efficiency, the energy improvement. So for the energy improvement of the building, both from the side of the envelope and the side of the heating system. Bonus Casa is more general, so it focuses on the renovation of the building, of the existing buildings. It focuses on residential buildings, while Ecobonus is not strictly related to homes. But Bonus Casa is more general in the sense that it supports also renovations which are not strictly related to the energy efficiency. But of course, in the large field of building renovation, there is also energy efficiency. So which kind of, I said that these two deductions support both envelope and heating system. Of course, we will focus on heating system because this is the connection with the app. Which kind of technologies are supported? So the replacement of the existing heating system with condensing boilers or with heat pumps, the installation of biomass boilers, hybrid heating systems, microcode generation systems, solar thermal collectors. The two deductions differ also in the way in which these technologies are supported. Here, as far as Bonus Casa is concerned, the consumer has the possibility to deduct the 50% of its expenses up to an expense of 96,000 euros. So it can deduct up to 48,000 euros. If we go to the next slide, we will see the difference with Ecobonus. Because in Ecobonus, you consider not the limit of expenses, but the limit in deduction. So and moreover, while Bonus Casa has only one limit, which includes all renovation measures you are carrying out, Ecobonus has different limits according to the measure you are considering. So for each measure, for each technology, there is an amount of money which is available for deduction. So, for example, for the installation of a biomass boiler, you have the possibility to deduct up to 30,000 euros. This means that you can spend up to 60,000 euros, and you will deduct half of this sum, so the 50%. For other measures, the percentage of deduction is 65%, and is the majority of the technologies, as we can see in the next slide. Actually, the picture is more complex because we should consider also the envelope. But this is very quickly the mechanism of Ecobonus for heating, for the replacement of heating appliances or the installation of new appliances where renewable resources are considered. These deductions were created several years ago. Bonus Casa was created in 1986, Ecobonus, and then was reinforced in 2012, while Ecobonus started in 2007. The last year, because of the pandemic, the Italian government decided to start another program of incentives, which is called the Superbonus. Superbonus is made of two main chapters. One is focused on the structural reinforcement of buildings. The other chapter is the energy improvement of buildings. This second chapter supports roughly the same measures as Ecobonus. The mechanism has several similarities, but of course, since here the deduction is much higher because it's 110%, of course, requirements are stronger. So you have to respect all the regulation requirements for related to the energy performance of buildings, the additional requirements for Ecobonus, and also another requirement, which is the fact that the set of solutions you decide to carry out and which are supported by Superbonus must achieve an improvement of at least 2 energy classes of the building. Of course, these incentives are considered strategic by the Italian government, and as we can see in the next slide, they are considered in the National Energy and Climate Plan. Here you can see that if Joanna, please, you can go to the next slide, which is similar, but we can focus on the, okay. This is the part of contribution in the savings of and use energy, which is estimated, which is expected from Ecobonus and Bonus Casa in this decade. Here you can, in this graph, you can find Superbonus because, as I said, it was created the last year, while this version of the National Energy and Climate Plan was published just before the beginning of the pandemic in December 2019. By saying that since this is a strategic action for Italy, of course, it's important to collect data and to monitor these initiatives, these incentives, and their results in terms of energy efficiency. So Enea, which is, as Joanna said, has the role of National Energy Agency for Italy, every year collects data about the number of installed units, investment costs, energy savings estimated for each installation, etc. And they are reported every year in an open access report, which is of course is open access, so can be read by everyone, and is dedicated to public authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Enrico, for your presentation as well. Now I'll just briefly look for a brief discussion of what we have shared here today. Again, I invite the participants to share any questions that they have with us, or of course they can afterwards also reach us by email, harp@aden.pt. Nonetheless, I would like to discuss some ideas with our speakers today, and we have been talking about existing data, the labeling schemes, how to reach consumers, how to put incentives out there that are attractive, how the industry is pushing for higher replacement rates than which currently have in the EU, and all the targets that we have. And well, I think that the first question I would like to discuss a bit, and this is specifically addressing Federico and Asotermica, as you have shown. I mean, the Italian market is, after the UK market, the most dynamic one in terms of new appliances sold every year, and you have a labeling scheme, voluntary labeling scheme in force. What are the biggest challenges that you as an association and having put this labeling scheme out there? What are the main challenges that you have faced so far, both from consumers and from the professionals that you have working with Asotermica?
Yes, I think that there are two main challenges. The first one is by our experience, to make it as simple as possible. Because, as I said, we operate in a supply chain that is not easy to manage. So the main thing is to pass very simple message, and to be sure that every actor is aligned and pass to another actor the proper message. So if we complicate too much the system, probably we miss the point. So the first recommendation is to keep it as simple as possible, and is the effort that we are doing with our project, of course. The second thing, I think that based on the experience, for example, of Germany, is to have, I not say something mandatory, but something more officially recognized by a legislative instruments. Because if we remain for a long time only with a voluntary scheme, probably we do not reach many people, and we lose our potential. So one important activity from our side is to use the experience of these years to make evident that legislation could help to implement and to deploy the energy label on the territory, even if it's not mandatory, but officially recognized by a legislative measure. I think that these are the two main challenges for our side.
Thank you so much, Federico. And picking up from what you say, keep it simple, and maybe voluntary is not the way to go. I would address Estesian, who is active in reaching out to consumers. How do we make energy efficiency heating an appealing topic to the consumers? How do we get the message out there? I mean, we have been implementing campaigns in the countries, but from your experience, not only from the HARP project, of course, but from Oculus' experience communicating energy efficiency, how do we raise and how do we attract consumers?
Hi, Anna. Well, when we are addressing consumers, we need to make the topic appealing, and we need to share the urge to take action into whatever topic we are addressing. As we mentioned, when we are talking about heating system, is something that is not always on top of the mind for consumers. So while we are addressing them, what we use are topics related to the actuality, the moment, like what we mentioned, the situation related to the energy bill right now here. Or we can relate to consumers and users that have been a lot of time at home due to the COVID situation. But more than that, we make the subject appealing through the different materials and the different assets that they provide. The simpler the way we address them, the easier for them to engage. So that's why we try and make both materials and the tools that we are putting at their disposal as useful and as simple as possible, because what we need is to give an answer to the different demands that they might have.
Thank you so much, Estesian. So keep it simple. I think that's the key message, so the consumers can effectively understand. And Diego, I would now just try to interact a bit also from the data that you collected. So we know about the buildings, we know about the stock, we know about the potential needs, but do we know enough about consumer behavior? I mean, do we have the data, or do we need more investigation to know exactly what are the heating needs that our consumers have? And because of course it's quite different, and now with the pandemics, everything has been a bit more different even than what was already than what we already know. But do we need more data? Do we need more investigation to understand a bit better?
So in the framework of the first activity that I presented regarding the heating appliances and the building stock, there were also other activities in the same work package. One task analyzed the consumer behavior, looking to which are the barriers for them for changing the appliance, which instead are the positive aspects. In addition, they evaluate which are the communication channels that can reach the consumer, and also other context parameters. So from this, a model of the user behavior has been performed, looking to the different countries that are partner of HARP. And this was done by interview via survey the consumers. From this, a model were developed by University of Nova, and also, yeah, that activity prepared as an output a report on that. Maybe we should ask to the colleagues of Nova if the model can change after the pandemic, because one of the output was that some communication channels work well in some countries and some are not working well in other countries. And maybe people staying at home change idea on channels, so maybe inform more on television or more on websites, and have more time spending on at the radio. I don't know. And another activity that was done, looking also to the consumer, was which are the co-benefit, because personally I spoke only about energy efficiency, but when the consumer buy a new appliance, is not looking only on energy efficiency. I'm like an engineer, of course, I look only the energetic performance, but people look to also the aesthetic, to the added value for the building when is replacing the system, the dependency of the appliance from the energy price, and so on. So also the co-benefits for all the technology that can be proposed to the user has been analyzed.
Thank you so much, Diego. I also think, of course, and one of the points also that Federico highlighted in his presentation was, of course, we need to put out their incentives, and that's something that Italy is doing very well, as Enrico pointed out in the bonus cars, in Ecobonus and Super Bonus. All of these instruments are out there. My question to Enrico would be, how do you evaluate the candidates that want to have an incentive? I mean, do you have an eligibility to target those appliances that are the oldest and most efficient ones? I mean, could you endorse the HARP label, the label for old appliances to has an eligibility criteria to say, okay, we will finance priority those appliances that are below C or D. So do you have this kind of ranking, or do you leave it to the consumers to decide if it's time to change or not?
Thank you for the question. As far as bonus casa is considered, there is no requirement in this sense, because as I said, it's about the renovation of buildings. So it's not necessarily focused on energy improvement. If we consider ecobonus, in ecobonus, you receive support, so you receive the incentive only if what you are doing implies energy improvement. So there you can, for example, change a Class A condensing boiler with another similar without an improvement in terms of energy efficiency. So somehow it's closer to what you suggested, but actually there is not you don't receive more if the energy improvement is higher. You need to have an energy improvement. In Superbonus is similar from one side and different from the other, because the principles are, from this point of view, are the same as EcoBonus. But as I said before, in Superbonus we have an additional requirement which is very important, and is that you need to improve the energy class of the building. An improvement has to be at least an improvement of 2 classes. And of course, this is easier if you start from a lower class than if you start from a medium one. So implicitly, there is something in the direction that you suggested. It's not explicit, so there is no, is not just for example, class D boilers. But of course, if you start from a worse situation, it's easier for you to achieve the minimum requirement to get access to the deduction.
Okay, thank you very much, Enrico. I think we have already passed our scheduled time. Nonetheless, I would like to, of course, thank our speakers for sharing with us and with the audience your knowledge, your experiences regarding the replacement of old and inefficient heating appliances. I hope the audience also welcomed the presentation. I hope they feel compelled now to check the efficiency of their heating system and think about, is it time for replacing my heating system or not? The invitation is made. So I hope you still enjoy the rest of the conference for today and for tomorrow. And hopefully we'll be back next year with final results and also more questions at the policy level on how to adopt the energy label of existing heating appliances to improve the rate of replacing of these appliances, and of course for the heat sector also to assume its role in achieving the EU targets and let's say more efficient buildings, near zero energy efficiency buildings. So thank you very much everyone for your participation, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.